Wiccan, I have a wonderful coven, and we do work every week where we try and press the boundaries of this reality and reach out. And the shamanic work is also about letting go of this body. And I remember the first time that happened to me, and time stops. You're gone, and you're part of everything.
Hi, Gary.
Hi, Stefan.
Okay. One of the things that Lynn had mentioned to us is a discussion about connection to the other. And I guess we're going to find out when she comes on how she's referring to the other. I'm assuming it's other than God, or I guess I shouldn't assume. We'll wait.
No, it might be God. God as other. That's a whole point of view, spiritual point of view. God as other. Yeah, I think she might be referring to God.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I don't feel God as other. I don't view God as other. I view God as self.
Right.
God is who I am, and who, not only me, all there is God. So there's no other. And this is the non-dual view that we've been talking about with different guests. The non-dual view is there's no separation, there is no other. In fact, Ramana Maharshi, when one disciple asked, well, what should I do, Master, to help others? He says, there are no others. Bingo. Wipe that whole idea out. So I think Lynn is going to bring in a new aspect to our conversation, because up until now, I think we've been mostly, well, not exclusively, but mostly dealing with non-dual people. So there is no other. Lynn is going to bring in this concept of the other. So this should be interesting.
It should be very interesting. Very interesting. I was thinking about something when after our last podcast, I had mentioned our son Krishna and his ability to teach us, even subtly, through his actions. They say all actions have consequences, but actions also have redeeming faculties as well. And I failed to mention that our other son, Eric, who's in the media business, as a publicist, he's really balanced it out, teaching me the other side, the business, the whole media side of it, something that I never really gave much thought to. I was a recording engineer early in my life, but that was so early on. And now things have changed so much in the world that we have to be taught new things. People are so afraid of social media in a way because of fake news and the AI and everything. And the word, getting back to Lynn, the word of God is kind of been impressed in our DNA for not just our lifetime, but generations. It's kind of like stuck in the DNA of the next generation and the next generation. And, you're born into it. You can't really help it, unless your parents, of course, are atheists and you never hear about it in your house. But even though my household was really kind of secular in a way, not really that very religious, and I didn't hear about God that much. But coming to the center, there was a whole new introduction into this bigger than life supreme, and our relationship with the supreme, which is the other. And I think I had a very interesting relationship with the supreme, because I was directing all of my being through Sri Chinmoy, and he was the teacher that the Supreme had put on this earth at this time to give us all the information. And then, of course, we found out that, that really wasn't true. But I'm curious about, since we are talking to Lynn Hudson today, and Lynn's journey also was in the Sri Chinmoy Center, we have a lot in common. So what do you think? Give me your take on this.
I think we all pretty much started our spiritual journey. I will have to find out from Lynn, but certainly in your case, in my case, we pretty much started our real spiritual journey in the Sri Chinmoy Center, which we refer to as the center. So that was the jumping off point. As far as the Supreme goes, I never had a relationship with the Supreme because the Supreme to me never struck home as being a reality. My relationship was with the Guru, and if you remember, or maybe you don't, maybe you weren't there at the time, Guru told a story once, a classical Indian story. Who is more important, the Guru or God? And in this story, the Guru is more important because God is just an abstraction. Without the Guru, you don't get to God. So therefore, the Guru is more important. Now, in my experience in the center, that was very true because to me, the Guru was everything. The Supreme, who knew about what does that mean? It was like to me, it was just like a concept, but the Guru was real. So that's why the Guru was more important than some abstract idea of the Supreme. I never got too into the Supreme part of the story.
I don't think any of the disciples really did. I mean, there was a hymn to the Supreme, a song to the Supreme, but the full focus of everybody, the reason they were in that group was because of Sri Chinmoy. He was the ego center of the group, if you want to call it that. And he was so strong of a personality, or maybe he wasn't. Maybe we just were so in search of something that we just surrendered to whatever it was that he was at the time and could not find our own inner self, our higher self, which was talking to us while we were listening to him. Because sitting down in meditation, my connection, even though I was looking at his transcendental while I was sitting there in meditation in my shrine privately, not in the group situation.
His transcendental picture for those
Yes,
who were just tuning in.
Right, his transcendental photograph. So I would be staring at that, but the voice that I was hearing was the voice that was coming from deep within inside me in that silence of meditation. I mean, it's kind of like an oxymoron to say there's that voice coming in silence meditation, but there was in fact a feeling, a sense, a higher awareness of kind of like movement from this higher self. And, I think you probably had something similar to that.
Well, to me, the Guru was everything. Simply because I didn't meditate. I had no connection with any kind of higher self. The Guru was the sole focus of up until the point I became disaffected with the Guru. I was there 10 years. So let's say the first 5 years, the Guru was everything to me. Then when I became disaffected, that fell away and I went on to other things. But in the early days of my discipleship, the Guru was the all in all. I had no connection to anything except the Guru. So I was invested in the Guru, lock, stock, and barrel. Later on, I came to see things differently, of course, as you have, and as hopefully everybody who left the center went on to, greater and greater realizations and unfoldments and epiphanies, etc. And hopefully they are not stuck back in the center mindset where the Guru is in effect God, because you don't go to God other than through the Guru. That was the main principle of that whole setup.
Isn't that what Jesus set up about, coming to the Lord through him?
Well, that's subject to a lot of interpretation. So, yeah, the fundamentalist view is nobody comes to the Father except through Jesus. The other interpretation, which the one I like, is that no one comes to the Father except through me, and the me is the higher self.
The higher self, yeah.
So that's I go down the higher self route. I don't go down the fundamentalist Jesus route. And speaking of fundamentalism, here's Lynn Hudson. Hey,
Lynn
Lynn.
Hudson,
Hey,
hey.
come on in and join us. We're talking about
I have to jump in with what you're talking about.
jump in, jump
Yes,
in,
absolutely. That's what we
jump
want.
in, jump
Jump
in. All right,
in.
you
Well,
jump in.
so what saved me was knowing that there was the guru was not intermediary. He made himself out to be, or a lot of teachers make themselves out to be the intermediary between the seeker and I think what saved me is I already had a relationship with other, and what I call other is um energy that maybe is not of this time space reality. Because what is reality? Like, your friend who is on the Jerry Katz was saying non-dual was one reality. Well, I would say, well, that one reality holds infinite realities, because we each are our own reality. We each have to be our own teacher, God, because that's what there is. It's consciousness. And I think stepping out of this time space reality, we can meet with our allies, which is the whole shamanic thing. But I started out already having experiences that I wouldn't say God, I would say consciousness that is out there in all its forms, as it takes form.
It sounds like you were a little ahead of the game, because I can only speak from my own experience. When I came there, no, this whole thing was relatively new to me. So I bought the guru story, lock, stock, and barrel. Nobody gets to God realization, self realization, whatever you want to call it, except through the guru. You already kind of wasn't buying into it. I bought
No.
into it, but I bought into it. It was later on, though, that I came into a greater understanding of the way things are, and so I realized what role the guru played in my whole spiritual journey. But it sounds like you kind of had a head start on the whole thing.
Well, just because from childhood, I was always, even as a child, thought of myself as being connected to unseen reality. And I had a friend, and in talking, even, 14, 15, we would raise energy that was like, uh-oh, we got some energy here. But then moving into the cult, it was more a direction. But remember fingers pointing toward the moon, way, woo, way. And it was like, we got caught up in the finger pointing towards the moon. And in that, I also found that Wei Wu Wei was the first to sort of encapsulate the idea of it's all now. So one reality, or non-dual, of course, because it's all now, which hurts the head a little to grasp that. But he did a good job of setting me towards understanding that.
Okay, for those who may not be familiar with Wei Wu Wei, by the way, Wei Wu Wei was an Irish guy. His name was Terence Gray or something,
Yeah.
who wrote these Taoist and Zen type books, non-dual books. A great influence on me too, Lynn. I discovered Wei Wu Wei after I left the center, and then I started exploring all kinds of spiritual paths. So Wei Wu Wei,
Yeah.
in terms of non-duality, it doesn't get any better than Wei Wu Wei, and I think one of his books is called Fingers Pointing to the Moon.
That's right. Yeah. And that's where I stepped, after the cult, stepping into the idea of it's all available. It's all right here. And if you step out of this time-space reality through a portal of energy inside yourself, then everything is available. And whether it's in this physical reality or mostly in other energy, not of this time-space reality. So, yeah. So other for me is that it's just other energy that is swirling, whether it's in this physical reality or not, but that we can connect to. And the first thing in shamanism is that thing of stepping out and connecting.
And what's the methodology for that? In other words, let's just say we're in this everyday normal reality, and you want to go through the portal or step through the portal into this greater or whatever, more alive, vibrant reality. What's the method or what's the technique to get through that portal?
Okay, so I think we all joined the cult at the same time, around 71.
All right, hold on.
And
I
was
haven't, wait, before you go on with that, we need some background because
yes,
we want to get into all of that. But I think that it would be very good if you told us how you got to the center. You were kind of young when you came to the center, right?
yeah, I was 16, and I met a woman who was in Ottawa who was in the center because I was dating her son, and then I moved on to being friendly with her, and she took me into the center to start meditating. And at that point, I was really dealing with a lot of issues around understanding what these connections to other energies were, because I was like 16 and I was having these experiences that were, for me at the time, very scary. But in joining the center and getting into the meditation, I also met two wonderful people who were like my mentors. So my mentor was not Chinmoy. It was these two people who helped me understand my own deep connections to other energy, other worlds. And that was a real gift for me, because then it took away all the fear and I was able to start working with other energies as allies and as friends. But the whole cult thing itself, I was there for 15 years. And I thought the basis of the meditation was great because it's a tool. And in leaving, that tool of the meditation really took me into the whole shamanic work and the Wiccan work, because that work is all about consciousness and connecting. So, but the shamanism that I loved about it was a new idea where it isn't like with the guru or a priest where you're the intermediary between you and what you see as spirit, but that you were taking someone on a path so that they had the experience and it was their connection to whatever it was that was reaching out to them, rather than being an intermediary and bringing back a message to someone. No, it's their experience and you take them to that place through trance work, which the meditation was really good as a basis for getting into trance work and helping people move through those portals to the energies that are calling and waiting to speak and to connect.
I think all the
Does that make
disciples,
sense?
Yes, it does. And I think all the disciples would have really gained a lot from what you just said, because if we all had looked at Sri Chinmoy as a guide rather than the end all, and realized that it was our own inner being that was just being educated by this teacher, but not to be uh, praised to the hilt because he was, the one and only avatar on the earth that the Supreme had sent down. We idolized him. And that idolatry really created such, you know, a very bad competition in the center, jealousy, all those things that we're supposed to release, we actually got more of.
Hung on to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it also, it it didn't help him to think that we were all equal. So he really kept that thing of, I'm the only way to get to what he called the Supreme. And that was keeping us in a box. Our consciousness was being put in a box and used by him, rather than our journeys being honored as just as equal to his journey. And in the end, realizing another scam artist, really. And my freedom came in realizing that. And that then I said, remember, you guys were talking about when you felt free, the moments you felt free upon leaving the center and starting your own path. And I feel that too. There was a moment I tried to leave with someone and they stopped us. And in telling me not to leave, he said, if you leave, you will die. And I looked at him because I was sitting right here in front of him, and he saw that I wasn't buying it and that I didn't care. And then he said, if you leave, your friend Snigdha will die. And I looked right into his eyes and I thought, you're so full of shit. No God I would ever believe in would say that. And that was my moment of, I'm free. I'm free from this guy. And
How
then it was
long?
just,
Yeah. How long had you been in the center before that happened? You were in the center for how long before that
15 years.
that came at the end of your stint in the center?
Yes, well, I was trying to escape. And then in trying to stop me, this is, threatening my life and that. And so that was really clear that, no, now I'm out of here. This guy is not where it's at. So that was a really wonderful thing to see it so clearly, that this guy is not giving me anything. And so then in leaving, I mean, it's hard to leave because that's your community. For me, it was since I was a child, really. But I did. I left and I started immediately finding people who were more in tune with the journey I wanted to be on, which was reaching out, doing the trance work to step into those other energies and other dimensions. And then with the Wiccan work, which was all about community and self-healing and self-understanding, but again, through working in trance and meditation and honoring the body and the earth. So I think moving into the shamanic and the Wiccan was a real start to a wonderful adventure of, where I am now.
And so where would you say you are now? So let me just get this chronologically. You came to the center as a young woman, young girl, whatever, 16. You spent 16 years there. You left when you were 32. So
31. Yeah.
31. And then you entered more into the shamanic or Wiccan path. So where would you say you are now?
Well, I have a wonderful, with the Wiccan, I have a wonderful coven or group, and we do work every week where we try and press the boundaries of this reality and reach out. And the shamanic work is also about letting go of this body. You know, I remember your first interview with Amy, and she talked about stepping out of the body. And I remember the first time that happened to me, and time stops. Everything, it just, you're gone and you're part of everything. You're just oneness. And so that is what keeps me going, is having these experiences with consciousness, but also with allies who keep me sure that I'm on the path, that I'm not crazy. You know, I constantly get these messages of, yeah, you're on the right path, you're doing right. But that path is just my path. I really believe in subjective reality where we're each running our own path, because it's only from our own perspective that we see. Like, you know, the people who do these near-death experiences, and they come back with, this is what it's like over there. And I remember the first book I read on that, and it was a woman who was very Christian, and in her near-death experience, she saw it from, that was her belief system and her perspective. So her brain had to create the narrative from where she was sitting, from where she was coming from. And being Christian, she saw the afterlife as being 12 men sitting judging her. And when I read that, I thought, sure as shit isn't my reality. That's not where I'm going. So you got to let it, everybody sort of has to work through their own belief system, which has been pounded into us from childhood in most cases. And so my journey is to find the freedom of consciousness so that in moving on, it will be consciously and without fear, without anger, but just moving on into the void to start my next journey. But, you know, it's, you know, everybody's going to interpret their experiences of other from their own life experience and belief system. So, you know, you got to let everybody have their own journey. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the marks of spiritual maturity, or one of the milestones in the spiritual path, is learning to let go of belief systems, all of them,
Exactly.
because as you point out, if it's drummed into me, if my worldview is shaped by a fundamentalist Christian doctrine, or Hindu or Buddhism, whatever, I'm going to see. I'm gonna see through that lens, and we don't want to. We want to see things as they are, not as we are, not through our filters. And these filters are the conditionings and the beliefs. So, and this is where the whole non-dual thing comes in. And Jerry Katz alluded to this, but other people do too. Is that, you know, once you see through the illusory nature of belief systems, because they're all man-made. They're all man-made. They're not given from God. They're cultural. They're man-made. You can release them. Now you're open to let reality be what it is, and not what you want it to be, believe it is, think it is. You know. So this is really a key place to get to on the spiritual journey, where you see, like, hey, it's just a story. Whether you buy the Jewish story, the Christian story, the Buddhist, whatever the story, it's just a story. It's made up. It's man-made.
But it's
yeah, go
man
ahead.
creating a God in their own image.
That's
So
it. A
they want
God
that
in
God
their
to
own
be.
image. That's
There
right.
you go. That's my God right there, up in my own image.
Okay, but you have to realize that unless you're on an island alone, you're being influenced constantly by all these voices around you, by these billions of people on this planet that have all their opinions and are feeding these belief systems to you. So
yes,
how do you raise yourself above these belief systems? I would imagine by spending as much time daily in meditation, so the silence is the thing that's guiding you, and you're not listening to all of the other things that are pouring into you constantly, you know? And I mean, that's a very difficult time on the path.
I don't think you need to be constantly shutting that down. I think you need to be learning to discriminate, which is, it's all about choices. I mean, we're in this body, in this, you know, opportunity, and all we have are the choices we make, whether we're making a choice towards love and being open and of the light, or towards, you know, hate and fear. And so much is being given to us, especially now, about you've got to fear everything. And I think that's the big journey right now, is to not be taken in. But I don't think you have to escape outside of society and the messages. I think you have to be clear and focused on what your intention is in your journey. And I think it's taken us all decades and decades to hone down our own focus and our own belief in our clear vision and our voice, our inner voice, which is everything. It's non-dual, right? It's inside, but it's everything.
Right. But you know, before social media, we weren't uh, bombarded as much
I
with
know.
all of these different opinions by everybody. We didn't have TikTok. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have a lot of these news shows. When I was growing up, we had three networks. The guys that came on at the evening news would just read the news without an opinion, and they would get off. And that was the way we went through our lives, forming our own self based on the experiences that we were having outside. But now all I'm saying is that, yes, I believe that discriminating on what is, the right thing for you personally is the way to go. I don't think you should go and hide anywhere, because you can't. You can't hide
Right.
anywhere. You're as soon as you step out, even you don't even have to step out your house. All you have to do is turn on some kind of media function, and there it is right in front of you. So you
But
have to, you're right.
but meditation can be a hiding, an escape. It depends on your intention and how you use it. I mean, there's many traditions where it's denying this sacred body and all that comes with it, and just wanting to be above. It's a very male kind of, God is up there and we want to be up there. When I think the point is to be in everything and experiencing everything, so that your decisions and your choices are teaching you, and they may not lead you to the light this time or to positivity.
So for me personally, the way my person is put together, um, meditation is a heightening sensation. It is not an escape. It's actually uh, a melding into the all for my senses. Not
Yes.
only my mind going as quiet as possible, but also, and I'm very sensitive to this, the vibration that I feel on my skin, on my inside, on my bones, on my muscles, everything. There's a vibratory state that I cannot achieve except in meditation. And I've taken, I went through the whole hippie scene and all the psychedelics and everything, and I never could reach that point under anything that I had taken. And also, everything that I have done in the past was always um, giving me a false sense of something. it was touching a chemical part of my body that was reacting. And with meditation, I understand that it also goes into the chemistry of the body, but it feels legitimate, if you want to call it that. It feels real. My whole body experiences it. So for me, meditation is the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm coming from the exact opposite camp, which just goes to show the variety of spiritual experiences and the variety of spiritual journey. And that's what we want to do on a show, talk to people about their own unique spiritual experience. For me, meditation is highly overrated. In fact, there are some paths that consider meditation to be an obstacle, not a means to realization, but an obstacle to realization. So for me, I'm in the opposite camp. I think meditation, I'm not saying it's necessarily an escape, but it's often used as an escape. And I don't find it particularly valuable at all. And I don't feel that I need it. And I do think it's, again, highly overrated. So I want to be a poster boy for people, who say, you too can have the same realization as somebody sitting in a cave or on a zafu for 30 years by not meditating, because it's all here right now, and there are many ways of tapping into it. And Lynn, you are talking about a few different ways of tapping into what's here right now. This is it.
Well, I found that the meditation was it was a base, it was a tool, so that in shamanic work, it's about connecting to the subtle body, to the subtle being, and taking your whole consciousness, putting it into that subtle being that can leave and that can do journeying. And so the meditation is, it was a wonderful thing to be able to shut down the chatting brain so that the consciousness can fully inhabit the subtle body and then take whatever journey it's called to take. So, or with, like I was telling you about doing a journey with Sandy Pulin, who, and he had always felt connected to other beings, but it was just always, he could feel it around him, especially in his garden, but that real solid connection was what he really wanted, that yes. And so in doing a shamanic journey, it was getting the trance journey, getting us both into that trance state inside each of our bodies, and seeing the intention of moving towards these beings. And we did. And we did it together from our, moving through a portal to where he went, to where he was being called. And I was stopped at the portal. These beings stopped and said, "This is not for you." And put me inside this kind of flower space where time stopped and I was just there waiting. And then when he was finished with his journeying, he came back. I came out of this place and we left together. But it was his journey. And after leading him down that path, now it's his journey and he can go, because he's followed that path and he's had the experience. And that's in readings and in my work. It's always, you read someone who's done something, like at the Monroe Institute, they did a lot of work, and there was this woman, Rosalind McKnight, and in her book, and she talked about leaving the body to go and do this thing, this journey to meet someone. And after reading it and feeling the intense vibration of it, I said, well, she did it, I do it. And then from there, I just did what she did. And Robert Moss, also, I've done a lot of work with him in he's a Celtic shaman. And it's the same thing. He shows you the path and encourages you go down that path and find out what's there for you. And I find that very, I think a teacher needs to be enabling. And when I found a teacher who does that, who enables you to be the best you can be and to find your own connections, I think that's golden, and that's something that the guru didn't do, or priests usually, or, in most religions, there's a buffer. You're not allowed to step across and have your own experience of bliss and other. And I think that's the only thing to do, is to have your own experience. So, yeah, so that's why I love this shamanic journeying, and the Wiccan goes along with that in a very big way, because it's non-hierarchical. It's just a supportive place to find your deepest yearnings and curiosities, and then take it where it goes for you.
I have to tell you a funny story about a shaman, about a Wiccan ceremony. Linda and I were doing a wedding on the Jersey Shore, and the wedding ceremony was being held in a gazebo just off the beach, and it was pouring rain. And the bride had a wizard and a wizardress, or whatever the particular person is called. They were all dressed up. It was very much Merlin-esque. And we're standing in the gazebo. The couple of members from the band were there playing, and the guests were standing there. And the rain was coming down, and the wizard was taking his staff, and he was doing a blessing from the north, the south, the east, and the west. And when he said all of it and got to the west and raised his staff, this bolt of lightning came down and felt like it hit the gazebo. And the wizard jumped out of his cloth along with everybody else there. And it kind of made the whole ceremony, brought it back down to earth, because we were all caught up in it, with the whole costume and everything. And once this happened, it was like, oh, here we are. We're back into this reality. Let's just finish this thing off and get to the reception before we get killed. So it was a very interesting experience, and everybody has their own way. That's the most important thing. Yeah. I mean, at the center, everybody becomes like the cattle, they're all corralled in a way. But we are not cattle. We are all individuals experiencing consciousness in our own way. And if I like meditation because of the vibration, and you like the shamanic journey because of what you feel and the out-of-body experience. Listen, Robert Monroe, in his first book, or his second book, talked about how when his wife died, before his wife died, he told her he was going to go into the astral plane, and he was going to find her, and he never could. He searched for her all over, and he never could find her. And, it's because it's everybody's individual thing. We're never going to really know what this truth is. Even, as high as we can get, I'm not sure we're ever going to know until we leave the body and find out that it's really something else. So, anyway, Gary.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. And certainly in that we all have to take our own journey, and I like what Lynn said earlier, because I'm a believer in the subjective reality. People talk about objective reality, but I'm not buying into that, because everything is perceived through subjectively. So, yeah, I'm good with that. Only thing is, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the idea that we have to wait until we leave the body in order to find reality or truth. I think that is a big, another one of those false narratives, and also a block to the realization that it's all here now. This is it, is the realization. You don't have to leave your body to know that this is it, but you have to have the experiential understanding of that. Not it can't be an idea. As far as leaving the body goes, I don't know what's going to happen when I leave my body, and I don't particularly care because I, in my own subjective reality, know for myself that this is it, and so whatever this is going to be it. But the idea of having to wait to realize, because even Ramakrishna said, this whole idea of realize God. He put it in his term. Realize God in this body. No, you don't have to wait until 18 incarnations down the road or somebody to take you up somewhere. Here, now, this is the time. So that's where I'm coming from, and I'm staying there because it feels pretty good.
Yes, I'm sorry. I just have to say that is your belief, and that is fine.
It's my experience, not my belief.
Yes, but your
my experience, not my belief.
Okay.
Belief is something that you don't experience, like out of the when I leave my body. That's just a belief because you haven't left your body. That's a belief. But your experience is what you're experiencing here and now. That's not a belief.
Right.
But some people have left their bodies.
Yes.
And come back. And some people leave them bodies all the time. And that's an experience too.
Exactly.
And that's the whole thing, is our own personal experiences of that.
Right.
And if you're curious enough to want to leave, or if you're trapped in the box of religion or whatever that says, there's so many fears built around the idea of stepping out. Like, look what the names they did and the propaganda around witchcraft in the beginning, that it's something evil. Well, not true.
Now, Gary, I just wanted to say, as far as what I said before, that we'll know when we get out, it means that we don't know what it is now. We live what it is now. And when we're gone, we'll find out what it is when we're gone. But not that it's got to be different or more spiritual. I mean, it could be exactly the same thing. It's just that we do not have that experience now because we're still living in the body. So our experience is the body experience. It's the earth experience. And when we die, if we do have a soul, which I believe, and the soul leaves the body, wherever that soul goes will have its own experience. So that's what I meant.
And I'm saying that when we leave now, and whatever we encounter, it has to be interpreted by this brain that is living in this body and that is very limited to its own experience. So that's why I think we have all these archetypal images of beings that meet with humans, beings that interact, and it's from our own cultural background, we interpret it, we create a narrative of what that is. But when we can leave this body and the brain behind, that it doesn't have to interpret anymore, then yes, it'll be something that this body can't experience because the brain is just not able to expand into everything right now all at once. The brain has to bring it down. Okay, this is what I see. This is how I interpret it from my experience and my cultural beliefs and that. And that's what we have. We have a brain that has to interpret all our experiences when we're out of this body.
Yes. So let me ask you a question about your journey with Pulin.
Yeah.
When you went on this shamanic journey, he was in your journey with you, correct?
We were traveling together. We were both experiencing. I don't know what he was seeing.
But you were seeing him?
Because, well, we were sitting next to each other.
No, but was he in your journey with you? Was he
Yes.
side by side? Okay, so
yes,
you were seeing him in your journey, correct?
Yes.
And when you went to the portal and he went through, You saw him go through the portal, but you were told you're not supposed to go,
No,
right?
we went through the portal, but on the other side, they said that he went on, and these beings just said, no, you stay here. This is not for you. And I just waited there in no time, no space, kind of inside this flower. And then I don't know how much time went by. And then he came back and we re-entered this physical reality.
Did he have the same experience that you had? Did you ask him if he saw you in his journey?
Oh, yes.
So
But
he had the portal. He had the portal as well.
Yes.
Okay.
But he had a unique experience with these beings, and he just felt, he said it was like going home, that these beings were his community on some level. And so it wasn't mine, so I wasn't taken into that. That was his. And so I think that's important about shamanic journeying, is I'm not coming back and telling him, oh, these beings say you're great, we like you. No. A journey has to be the person meeting with their other entity, with their group.
Yes, I agree. I had a similar journey with a shamanic teacher when we lived in New Jersey. Linda and I used to go. She was a friend of ours, and she would give us sessions. And Linda and I had a journey once. It was Linda's journey and my journey. We were not together in the journey. Now, I don't know why. Maybe because I was focused on something else. Shiva, the god Shiva, was very prominent in my life at the time, in my belief system. And my journey was where I went to Shiva's realm. And actually, my spirit animal, which is an eagle, flew me to Shiva's realm. And at first, I was sitting on his knee, on his lap. And then eventually, for some reason, and I do not know why, I climbed onto his shoulders and became bigger in form than Shiva was. Now, it could have been a belief system going on about, the difference between the god and me or whatever. But it was an amazing experience because I felt like I had left whatever reality I was in physically at the time, and actually went to that space. Like Paul Twitchell's Tiger's Fang. Did you ever read that book?
No.
Okay, so
No.
Paul Twitchell was the head of Eckankar. He's since passed, but he wrote a book called The Tiger's Fang, and a dear friend of ours, Amita, turned me on to the book. And
Amita, I remember Amita.
yeah. And in Twitchell's journey, his guide, his guru, took him to the many levels of the cosmos, of the gods, to each level of each god, one being higher than the next. And when you read it, if you have a great imagination, you can find yourself sitting in the boat with him and traveling to these places. And it's really everybody's individual experience to do something like that. So, here we are back with the individual experience again, being the prime driver of everything that goes on. And one of the reasons that we don't survive in a cult is because of all those multiple vibrations that are going on amongst everybody, taking you out of the consciousness you're supposed to be in. And that's why we all left. And, I just want to tell you, when I left, Guru said the same thing to me, in slightly different, but he said to me, good boy, you're leaving. I will forgive you, but the Supreme will never forgive you. And I was like, hey, wait a second. Supreme's not going to forgive me, but you're going to, I thought the Supreme was bigger than you. So yeah.
Yeah. He likes to take charge, doesn't he, Chinmoy, making himself
Narcissist, big narcissist.
Narcissist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think also the whole idea of the archetypal, what we see is our own cultural archetypal mythology, and we use that especially in Wiccan work, where we can take like the journey of a Nanan into the underworlds. Like there's in every religion, there's stories about traveling to the underworlds or traveling to the seventh heaven. But if you take it on the myth as a structure for your own journey, we've done that a lot in my coven, where you follow the myth in your own inner journey and inner imagination, and it, because they're archetypal, they take you to places where learning, your own learning, will come out of it in a way that's narrative, but also individual to you, even though you're doing it with other people from a framework that is thousands of years old. But you follow these frameworks, and we do that a lot in the Wiccan work, in trance, to find the curiosity of where this journey takes you in your own healing. Whereas in shamanic work, you often do journeys. There's something called soul retrieval, whereas if you've been through trauma, bits of yourself can be left in other places that are not, you can't get to in this space-time reality. And so there's a thing in shamanic work where you go outside this, and your intention is to call to that part of you that is missing. And it's amazing the way it always works. Your journey will take you, and you always do this in a group. So you do it with two people, so that when you travel into that other realm, it can be dangerous. There are dangers out there. So in doing it with others, someone is the anchor that always will bring you back. And I found that I did an ayahuasca journey, and I went so deep into this other realm that I almost couldn't get back. But I called on the energy of my coven, and I saw this red thread, and it led me back, because you can get lost on the other side, and it can be dangerous. So, it's the curiosity and finding the healing of that, and making those choices, I think, takes us to our own truth and our own enlightenment. And it doesn't have to be meditation, or it can be, but I think it's the idea of reaching out with intention to find your truth.
You mentioned it a number of times, Lynn, so I want to bring it up. You've mentioned the importance of intention. So what I would like to say is that what I have also discovered in my own spiritual journey, that if there's any one key to the whole thing, and I'm not saying there's only one, but if I had to pick one, certainly intention would be right up there at the top. And I think this sets the course. Your intention sets the course. And then whatever happens, up and down here and there, but if you stick with your intention, I think that's the driving force, and that will lead to success. I want to ask you one question. We know where Lynn came from. We know what Lynn's doing now. What's next for Lynn in terms of the spiritual journey?
I'm working again with my little coven, and again in finding the healing, so that there is no fear, because I'm preparing for moving into the next stage beyond this body. I've had cancer a few times. I'm feeling I'm getting close. And I feel like my intention is to be so ready and so aware that I can just walk into the void and the darkness with no fear, so that I'm not drawn or dragged to some belief system, like through fear, like, oh, there's the light, I got to go there or else I'm doomed. No, I want to be able to step across and just be without fear in the void, waiting for the next step, which is, who knows, but I know that I've crossed over before, and I know that, yeah, and I want to do it without fear, because I think that's something we can carry with us in consciousness. Like our brain, body, they're going to stay here and be nothing, but our consciousness, I think, can carry things like fear.
Well,
and I want it to carry love and curiosity.
so you want to go in with love and curiosity, not fear. And fear. One of the things I have sort of a burr under my skin about the guru was he instilled fear.
Yes.
He called it the path of love, but he instilled fear. Oh, well, yeah, I'll forgive, but the Supreme will never forgive you. Oh, you leave the path,
Yes.
your best friend is going to die, or his favorite. Oh, you leave the path, your soul will curse you in your next incarnation, and you get cancer. So naturally, there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear in that, and he's not the only one. Religion, a lot of religions are based on, all religions based on largely on fear. So that's why we want to throw that stuff out. But what I'm saying, well, yeah, it's a battle. It is a battle to come out from under these belief systems, like my soul is going to curse me, the Supreme is going, and to go into whatever we go into, as you say, being open, being loving, and being without fear. I think that is the key. I think if there's any key to the whole thing, it's to be open, loving, no fear, and no belief in somebody going to punish you, either with casting you down into the pit of hell for eternity, or getting cancer in your next incarnation. All this fear stuff. That's why I don't like religions, and that's why I don't like belief systems, because a lot of them are based on fear and fear alone.
Yeah. I think we have to really make our belief, for me, the belief system is based on my experience. And I've experienced other energies, and they're part of my family, my allies, and so I find it exciting and an adventure to be drawn to that and to interact and learn. Because and the thing is, when you're out of the body and doing a journey, the learning isn't usually in words, because we're in a place where there's no time and no space. There's no words. It's an understanding that you come back with every time, and it builds, and you become more and more open to it. Yeah. Where else should we go on this journey?
Well, I think we should leave it here. I think we covered a lot of ground today, and maybe down the road, Lynn, we'll come back for part 2. But I don't know. Maybe Stefan has some other things.
Fun.
Yeah, it's been great fun. Maybe Stefan has some other things he wants to bring up. But I feel complete. I feel good. I think you hit I think you hit a number of great points. The importance of intention, the importance of living without fear, and the importance of just being open and loving to whatever is next for us on a ever unfolding journey. Because the journey doesn't end. It's not like, oh, you get to the top of the mountain, oh, now you're done. No, you're never done. It's always unfolding. And and when we leave the body, who knows what's going to be? But whatever it is, I believe, and this is just a belief, it's going to be good. Because that's my experience informs that belief that it's going to be good. I don't know what it is, but I believe it's going to be good.
Well, I'm glad you believe in something, Gary.
I do. I believe in goodness.
So I think that the main thing here, as you both said, is intention. I think every spiritual master will probably uh, tell you that it's called aspiration. So if you aspire for finding a way to elevate your consciousness, to be in this world without the world destroying you, where you can go day to day with a semblance of peace and light. You can't always be in a state of bliss, but that's the third candle on the cake. And I think I'm hoping that these conversations that we're all having here can bring some information, perhaps some enlightenment to people that are watching this. We're always looking for, that interesting conversation, that thing that people are chatting about, on the side at parties sometimes when two people get together and they have the same kind of mindset and sit and talk about the higher consciousness thing. I think that's all good. And I think what you have, I mean, there's so much more to talk about, that we should have another conversation about this. And I guess it's time to say goodbye.
So long, farewell. Thanks, you guys. That was really fun.
It was fun.
I really enjoyed
Thanks,
it.
Lynn. It was great fun. Now, when you leave, Stefan and I are going to do what we call the post-game analysis. Like in the sports world, that was the game, and now and now we're gonna talk about what happened in the game. We're gonna do a post-game analysis. Lynn, great talking to you. I'll see you. We'll see you soon.
Bye. Thanks,
Bye, Lynn.
guys.
Thanks,
Bye.
Lynn. All right.
That was great.
It was great because, for me anyway, she brought up a whole lot of stuff that I'm not familiar with at all. Shamanism, I know very little about, and the Wiccan thing. That's all new to me, and these journeys and stuff. So I got a lot out of today. It was lively. What I like most is the energy and the vibrancy. And Lynn was definitely energetic and vibrant.
Well, you were vibrant, Gary. You were intentional. You were, even, with the tooth missing in your mouth, it gave you this kind of pugilistic consciousness.
I was in a Dharma combat, and I got
Yes, you were.
I love Dharma combat. I got knocked out.
Wait a second. You wanted the warrior that was into peace and light, not the warrior that was aggressive. Wasn't that what you said from Todd's talk?
No, that's what I said. Todd, our last guy, last interviewee, he said we have to go from the old warrior, and he's the perfect embodiment of the old warrior. I've seen him in Canada as the old warrior. He's a tough cookie, really, physically, and he has to go. But yeah, no, he really is, and he has to go. He said you have to go into the new warrior, loving, and then he did the chanting. I mean, such a beautiful example of the new warrior. As I said, I'm stuck in the old warrior. I love like the Zen masters used to go, do Dharma combat. No, the flagpole is not moving. It's the wind. No, it's not the wind. It's your mind. This kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm still stuck in old warrior.
You know what?
I have a way to go. I have a long way to go. So there's more to the journey.
Yes, and they're going to make a salt and pepper shaker set of you and me. You can be the pepper, and I'll just be the salt. Okay.
Good cop, bad cop. But you know what?
Yeah.
That's good dynamic. We'll get these guests in here, okay, and they have their story. Then you have your story. I have my story, and it's a good mix because it's not the same story. And if we want to convey anything with these things, it's that like everybody's spiritual journey is unique. It's not cookie cutter. Don't go looking because Nisargadatta or Ramakrishna or somebody, some great saint had this experience, or even she mentioned ayahuasca. There's a great book called Bright Stillness or something by this guy, David Kars, who took an ayahuasca journey, became enlightened. He said, hey, don't think that you're going to do this. You can go to Brazil and do ayahuasca and it's going to result in the experience I had. No, you're going to have your own experience. So that's the important thing. Your own experience, not somebody else's, no matter how exalted or how enlightened they may be. You got to get your own. You got to find your own.
Okay, so that's the interesting thing about non-duality. From my point of view, okay? My point of view is with all of these individual beings on this planet and all these individual animals and all these individual plants, okay? Even the plants are singular unto themselves. The planets, the cosmos, everything is a singular essence that consciousness is having an experience through. Nobody's the same. Nobody's the same. So have your own experience. And
that's it. And don't try to have anybody else's. Have your own, because yes, consciousness doesn't need two of the same, like the snowflakes. They look the same, but they're all individual. Consciousness wants to have its experience through each individual snowflake. Everything's a little different. It may look the same. So, yeah, I think we're getting our point across.
All right, everybody, go out and have your own experience. We'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.
And drop those beliefs.
Yeah, drop them. But come back to us. Believe in us. Believe in us.
Believe in us, because we would never steer you wrong.
Never. Bye, Gary.